Let's get more on that with Behnam Ben Taleblu. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defence of Democracies. Great to have you with us, Behnam. Good evening. So the Supreme Leader, he seems to be trying to put a positive spin on the destruction in Gaza after, of course, referring to the war for the past 15 months as a genocide. Who is he talking to specifically with these comments?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, Laura. Make no mistake, Iran's Supreme Leader is under pressure from, if you could even imagine, something even further than his own right flank. Not the population, but ultra-hardline regime elites who have seen the Islamic Republic's axis of resistance get battered by sheer Israeli military capability over the past year and a half. And if you look at hardline Iranian newspapers this week and last week, particularly tied to the Trump inauguration as well as the start of the actual ceasefire, Iranian officials are trying to claim victory when the facts on the ground look like anything but.
What about those comments then from the Foreign Minister, Arakchi? Because the regime had recently been indicating that it was interested in returning to some kind of nuclear negotiations. He seems to be saying that's off the table now.
Well, I don't necessarily see Arakchi's comments as saying it's off the table. I see him as actually realistically circumscribing the ability to actually get a good deal. And this should be a wake-up call to both the new Trump administration as well as some who I would say bad faith actors who are trying to take advantage of the administration's preference for a deal and for a peaceful resolution to this crisis to basically supplicate to the Iranians. So here I think Iranian ideology, Iranian factional politics, and basically the rough and tumble of politics in the Islamic Republic is actually limiting the room for maneuver that the Iranian diplomatic team is going to have. So if anything, now is the time to not take this bait, not take this trap, and to double down on more pressure.
But if we take a step back and look more broadly at how Iran is dealing with a terrible few months, the stunning collapse of its proxy network, it's lost its ally in Syria in the form of Bashar al-Assad, it's now got a very hostile President Trump in the White House. I mean, what is their strategy, do you think? What is their outlook for the year ahead?
Well, there's a Persian saying, which is to wait until the donkey crosses over to the other end of the bridge. So they're prioritizing. What they're trying to do is to tempt the Trump administration with some kind of talks, because talks would at least signal resolve to the domestic population, which is more upset than ever before. Talks would at least make it harder for the Israelis to go after Iranian nuclear and military installations. And talks would force the Americans and the Europeans to have to come to some kind of a lesser or least common denominator approach to Iran that isn't maximum pressure, but that is focused on some kind of diplomatic outcome here. So the Islamic Republic is trying to use the West, in particular the administration's preference for a deal, as a shield against it to not solve the problems it faces at home and abroad, but to merely limp along and outlive the Trump administration.
Great. Thanks for sharing your insights, Ben, and we appreciate it. Behnam Ben Taleblu there at the FTD.
Thank you.